For over 1,000 years, some of the absolute greatest minds in history were obsessed with just one thing, a mythical, legendary substance that promised two things everybody wants: infinite wealth and eternal life. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the incredible story of the Philosopher's Stone.
I mean, just think about it for a second. What if you could take a worthless chunk of metal and just turn it into pure gold? Or, even crazier, what if you could live forever? At the heart of this whole legend are these two incredible promises. And the wild part is, for centuries, people didn't see this as fantasy. They saw it as an achievable goal.
So what exactly was this thing they were all looking for? Well, it was called the Philosopher's Stone. And according to all the old texts, it was basically this master substance that could perfect anything it touched. It had two main jobs. First, transmutation, the ultimate dream of turning cheap metals like lead into solid gold. And second, and maybe even more important, it could create something called the elixir of life, a potion that would make you young forever. Okay, so who were these people, these secret seekers? Now, if you're picturing a bunch of wizards in pointy hats, muttering spells, you're going to have to toss that image out the window. The reality is way more surprising. This wasn't some fringe hobby, it was a serious obsession that completely gripped the intellectual elite of the day.
And the sheer scope of this quest is just staggering. We're talking about something that spanned entire empires and centuries. It all seems to start way back in Hellenistic Egypt with guys like Zosimus. Then it absolutely flourished during the Islamic Golden Age with scholars like Jabir ibn Hayyan. It becomes the stuff of legend in medieval Europe with Nicolas Flamel, and you'd think it would end there, right? Nope. Incredibly, it kept going right into the scientific revolution. And this is the point that's so crucial to understand. We really have to adjust our mental picture of an alchemist. These weren't sorcerers. They were the pioneering physicists, the leading chemists, and the most brilliant philosophers of their era. They were using the most advanced knowledge available to them to try and unlock the deepest secrets of the universe.
And if you need the ultimate proof, look no further than a name you would never expect: Sir Isaac Newton. Yeah, that's right, the Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics, the guy who figured out gravity. He wrote over 1 million words on alchemy. He called the stone the king of all the bodies, saying it could make all things perfect. You see, for Newton, this wasn't some contradiction. His science and his alchemy were all part of the same grand mission: to figure out the hidden laws of God's universe, whether they were in the stars or in the dirt.
So, if a mind as brilliant as Newton's was convinced, what was the actual process? How did they think you could make this thing? Well, the path to creating the stone was known as the Magnum Opus, or the Great Work. But here's the catch. The instructions were never just written down plainly. Oh no. They were hidden in this secret language of symbols and metaphors, a code designed to keep the knowledge away from anyone who wasn't, worthy.
The Great Work wasn't a simple recipe. It was this long, methodical, 4-stage journey. It all started with nigredo, the blackening, where you'd break the raw material down into a chaotic black sludge. That was followed by albedo, a whitening, where you'd purify that sludge, washing it clean. Then came citrinitas, a yellowing, which was seen as this sort of awakening, before you hit the final triumphant stage, rubedo, the reddening, which is when the perfect Philosopher's Stone was finally supposed to emerge.
And that secret language was everything. An alchemist wouldn't just write, add sulfuric acid. No way. They'd write something like, feed the metal to the green lion, which was their symbol for a powerful corrosive acid. And this whole delicate process, it took place inside a sealed glass container that they poetically called the philosopher's egg, like a little womb for this grand transformation.
So this obsessive, secret hunt for gold and immortality went on for century after century. But the real treasure they found along the way was something completely different and, it turns out, infinitely more valuable for all of us.
Which leads us, of course, to the big question. After all that time, all that effort, with some of history's smartest people on the case, did anyone actually pull it off? Did anyone ever turn lead into gold?
The short answer is no. But, and this is a huge but, in their failure to create a magic stone, they accidentally laid the entire foundation for the modern world. They didn't find the Philosopher's Stone, they found the future. They found chemistry.
Think about it. In their crazy quest for the stone, alchemists basically had to become master experimenters. They invented the glassware, the beakers and flasks that are still the symbols of a science lab today. They perfected all these crucial techniques like distillation and sublimation. Every failed attempt to make gold was actually a successful experiment in mixing, heating, and observing how matter really works.
And there's this one story from the year 1669 that just perfectly captures this incredible moment where magical thinking started turning into real scientific discovery.
Okay, get this. His name was Hennig Brandt, and he was convinced that the key to gold, the very essence of life, could be found in human urine. So he collected something like 1,500 gallons of it. I'm not kidding. He spent weeks boiling it all down into a thick paste and then heated it to an insane temperature. And he didn't get gold. Instead, he got this waxy white stuff that had a truly bizarre property. It glowed in the dark. Without meaning to, Brandt had become the first person in history to discover a brand new element, phosphorus.
So, the alchemists never found their magic stone, but they accidentally gave us the building blocks of modern chemistry. Not a bad trade-off. And yet, even today, the idea of the Philosopher's Stone still fascinates us. So why is that? Well, maybe the quest was never really just about the gold.
You see, for a lot of these thinkers, the stages of the great work, that blackening, the purifying, the final perfection, it was all a big metaphor for a spiritual journey. The goal wasn't just about purifying metals in a lab. It was about purifying the alchemist's own soul, about reaching a state of enlightenment.
And that really leaves us with a final, fascinating question to ponder. When the alchemists wrote all those coded texts about turning base lead into pure gold, were they only talking about elements in a lab? Or were they using the language of chemistry to describe a much deeper, more personal quest, the transformation of an imperfect human being into something perfected, enlightened, and truly golden?